So this is my Double Dead Magic Nightblade build. Very fun to play, very strong 1v1, very strong 1vx. In order to use this build to its fullest potential, you need to play it super aggressive. Your survivability is based off the damage that you're doing. When you kill people with your piercing mark proc on them, you're going to get health back. So you prioritize targets, you burn them down as quickly as possible, you kill them, you get your health back, you mark the next person, you go on from there. Starting off with the skills that we have slotted, we have Inner Light, Structured Entropy, Merciless Resolve, Concealed Weapon, Swallow Soul, and Clouding Swarm. The reason why we're running Clouding Swarm is because it's going to give us invisibility. This is really important for a lot of passives. First of all, we're Nightblade, so we're going to get an additional 10% damage while we're invisible. Even though we can still be targeted, we're technically invisible, so we're going to be hitting harder. And that counts for the Swarm as well. So if you look here on my spell damage, when I go Stealth, you'll see that that number increases. So while we have Clouding Swarm going, we're going to be hitting 10% harder. That is also going to stack when we buff ourselves with other things. Other things that are not going to be expressed on our spell damage, like getting Minor Brutality, or Minor Berserk rather, with our Merciless Resolve. That's an additional 8% damage, which is not going to be expressed on our character sheet, and also the 5% additional damage that we're going to be getting from our swords, which is our Twin Blade and Blunt. So the whole idea here is that we're going to do a ultimate burn. So we're going to buff ourselves up, we're going to hit Merciless Resolve, we're going to mark someone, we're going to do Structured Entropy, Crippling Grasp, so we get that strong dot going, and then we're either going to use a cheap 100 ultimate channel on our Soul Assault for a single target, or we're going to go into our Clouding Storm to really get the damage going for a burn on one target who is super tanky, or if there's multiple targets and you're trying to do as much damage as possible. While you're invisible and you hit someone with Concealed Weapon, it's going to give them a hard CC, knock them off balance, and we have 75 points in Thaumaturge, which is going to make us do an additional 10% damage on top of everything else. So that's really what this build is centered around. And we're going to make that hit as hard as possible by running sets that are going to really maximize the amount of damage that we do on an endgame max champion point build. So these are the bars that I'm currently running. Again, if you want to take Merciless Resolve out, you do not want to lose your assassination passives that you get for increased crit rate and crit damage. So make sure that you are either running Impale for trials predominantly. If you're doing dungeons, anything like that, I would use it. This build does so much damage, you don't really need an Execute in PvP. Double Take is really what I would recommend swapping it out for if you don't want to run Merciless Resolve. If you see that you're just getting a little too knocked around, you're taking too many hits, you're not timing your dodge rolls, you're running out of stamina, things of that nature, go ahead and throw this on. It's going to give you a lot more survivability. 20% of the time, moves are going to entirely miss you. Also, it gives you a nice little speed buff while you're going for the initial 4 seconds, which is going to synergize with being a vampire while you're stealth with Concealed Weapon. Concealed Weapon gives you an additional 25% speed bonus, which stacks with this one, so you can really zoom around without getting pulled out of stealth. So that's nice. I run it with the Merciless Resolve because the Minor Berserk, 8% damage, is nice for doing extra damage, burning people down that much faster, and getting my piercing mark to proc. Going into our inventory, we are running 2 Swords of Julianos on our front bar, 2 Swords of Julianos on the back bar. The reason why is because you really want to get as much crit as possible because we're running a twice-born set. We'll get into that in a second. You get a 5% extra damage increase on dual-wield swords. I'm running Defending because I'm running 5, 1, and 1. Anytime you're running light armor, it's great to balance it out by using Defending. This is only really possible in this patch. Previously, Defending scaled off of your max armor. Now it's a flat amount, so you can really balance out your build, get that survivability that you need. So when I buff myself with my shadow abilities, you can see I have just as much armor as most people have in heavy. So it's very, very tanky, still hits like a truck. Next up, we have one-piece Kina, and I have, instead of another piece of the Kina, I have a Juliana shoulder for the increased max magicka. You can swap this out with another Kina piece. You can swap it out with another boss set like a blood spawn if you need the increased stamina. I'm fine with dodge rolling and breaking CCs as it is. I run tri-stat food and tri-stat potions, and I don't really have an issue with that. Twice born, 5, 1, and 1. 5 light, 1 heavy, 1 medium. I'll go into why I did which armor piece where, but we're doing a twice born set and the Julianos and the 1-piece Kina, in addition to 3-piece willpower, all arcane, all spell damage. Here we have divines on the light piece. We have infused on another light piece. That's because the legs, chest, and head give you big armor bonuses, so you want to get infused on those, except we didn't go on the chest, and I'll explain why. Divines on the hands, impen on the waist, a little extra added survivability. I had to move my champion points around, so I took some off of my champion point crit resistance, so I made up for it here. Divines here. I went reinforced on the heavy chest. If you're going to go 5, 1, and 1, you want to make sure that your one heavy piece is your chest, because that is the biggest armor value that you're going to get, so making it heavy is going to give you the biggest reward. I went reinforced on this to maximize the amount of armor I'm getting off of that. Infused on the head. Everything on this is tri-stat glyphs except for the head. I found that I was fine with the health and stamina the way that I had it, so I just went for a little bit extra damage. This is going to be my buffed character sheet out of Cyrodiil. So this is what it looks like when I have everything going without any passives from Cyrodiil. So pretty good stats on that. I run the tri-stat foods. It's very balanced. Let's get into our champion points. Starting out on our green tree, 47 Magician, 19 in Mooncalf, 48 in Arcanist, 12 in Healthy. A lot of these, like Arcanist and Magician, I did it to a point of diminishing returns where you get a very low amount afterwards. For instance, this is the first 0.1% return you would get, so I stopped there. 1 in Shade, 28 in Shadow Ward, 12 in Tumbling, 13 in Bless, 3 in Elfborn, 73 in Elemental Expert. Again, you'll see here it goes from 21.1% to 20.2%, so I stopped there at 73. 3 in Shattering Blows because of the biggest return for your points off the bat. And here, 75 in Thaumaturge. The reason why is because we want Exploiter. This is where we're getting our ultimate burn with our bats. When we're invisible with Concealed, we're going to be knocking them off balance. So when we have bats proc, we're going to buff ourselves, armor break them with Piercing Mark, go for that ultimate burn. It does stupid damage once they're knocked off balance because all of your damage bonuses synergize. So make sure it's absolutely mandatory. 75 in Thaumaturge. We have 39 in Resistant. We have 48 in Hardy and Elemental Defender, 1 in Thick Skinned, 1 in Expert Defender, and 30 in Quick Recovery. You get really shit returns for your points here. If you had 30 in Healing Initiated, if you go over to Bless, you'd have significantly more percentage points, but it's important. It sucks that you have to put it in. I would love to throw it into Resistant, but for this build, you're getting double debuffed in PvP because your damage is decreased and your healing is decreased, and healing based off of damage is going to be double decreased. So make sure that you have those 30 points in Quick Recovery. Everything else synergizes enough to make it a strong, high damage, survivable, tanky build, but it's important. Go ahead and throw their points in Quick Recovery. That's everything on this build right now. Just to give you a basic idea of how the Ultimate Burn works, I'll link a video with a 1v6 that I did so you can see how I react to people. Again, I run tri-stat food and tri potions. Very important to run the tri-pots for when you're getting jumped. You never know what resources you're going to need. So open up with your Mass Hysteria. You're going to Piercing Mark them. Go after, prioritize your targets. Make sure that you go after someone tanky, or don't go after someone tanky. You don't want to hit someone like a Sword and Board DK with heavy armor first. Go after your glass cannons and people who are doing the most amount of damage. So again, really fun build. Play it super aggressive, and I guarantee you you'll fall in love with it. Very, very fun to play, and check out the video of me actually using this so you can see how effective it is in not just 1v1 but 1vx situations. So enjoy yourself, and I'll see you guys in Cyrodiil.